didn't follow the traditional path of most people into the theater world that, go and study and have their MFA and get into academic work and all of that. I've been doing theater my whole life in a variety of different settings. Of course, everybody starts off in summer camp or some school experience, and as I think I mentioned to you earlier, one of my best awards for acting was Best Supporting Actor in junior high school, which I guess nowadays they call middle school, right?
Yeah.
But actually, I've been doing theater and performing for quite a long period of time, especially since I just turned 60, so that adds the length to it. And I find, for me, theater is therapy. When I've had transitions in my life, being in theater has been, I won't say an escape, but it's really been a reward. It's been an opportunity for me to refocus, to kind of forget about whatever the particular issues are that were going on in my life at that moment, and an opportunity to branch out, get out of my own box, get out of my own head, meet other people, socialize, and really dig into some meat. In terms of what I've done in my life, I'm one of those guys like Fritz the Cat's got 9 lives or more, and luckily still going. How does theater help me in the business world? Certainly on how to give presentations, how to capture an audience, how to express thoughts in a way in which other people are open to hearing them, how to allow other people to perceive new perspectives as opposed to what they may have walked into the house thinking. The other side of the house is that some of my other experiences, for instance, sales and marketing, have been extremely helpful in the acting world because it has allowed me to learn not to take rejection personally. Because the majority of this business is not what everybody thinks of being on camera and screen or on stage. It's mainly about auditioning and being rejected and learning that although you might think you are the right one for the role, you're not. Or you might be, but you're not what somebody else's perception is. Or maybe your personality isn't one that they want to work with, which is 9 times more important than what your supposed talents are. Things along that line. Also, the fact that you're spending more time getting rejected, even if you're a wonderful performer. The reality is that a lot of it isn't about talent. It's about networking. It's about look. It's about how do you match up with other members of the cast, things along that line. So for me, auditioning, for instance, is more like a rehearsal time. That's my opportunity to stretch my boundaries, to rehearse, to do because the only thing I can control is what I'm putting out there. Well, first and foremost, if we're talking about stage or really anything that you're performing, you got to read the work. I think what I find is that a lot of people feel that they have natural talents and abilities and they know their monologue, their 90-second, or maybe too contrasting and you might get 3 minutes in an equity audition or something like that. But if you don't know the work that you're auditioning for, if you haven't tailored your resume and headshot to that project and your cover letter, working in the theater is just like working anywhere else in the real world. It's about not just your talent and skills, but how you correlate with other people, how they relate to you, what they perceive. Not what you think you're putting out, but what do they want? What's in it for them? And so to me, I would say, not just work on your talent and skills and your monologue, but know what it is that you're going for. The one other thing I will say is that, especially as a young actor starting out, or whenever you happen to be starting out, most people are hungry, as they say. And you feel like, I need this job so that I can pay my bills, or whatever your particular situation is. Well, I liken that to a horse. A horse may not be the most bright animal in the world, but they know when they're in control, and they can sense fear. And when you're auditioning and you're thinking you're doing a wonderful job, but you know in the back of your head, I need this job so I can pay my, well, that reads. And so any technique that you can use, whether it be Tai Chi, whether it be yoga, whatever that is, to relax yourself, get into the moment, focus on what it is you're accomplishing, and forget about whether you get the job, because you don't have any control over whether you get the job, the better your odds are at being successful. The other thing I would say is, again, learn to have a thick skin, because it's not all about you, even though as an only child I always think it is. It's a vibrant community. I was involved recently with an organization that part of their mission is not only to reward actors for their performances, but also to spread the message as a marketing organization that DC is a destination for the arts, whether it be, as you say, theater, dance, film, other kinds of presentations and disciplines. The reality is that in the theater world itself, we are extremely vibrant in the Washington area, and I would say that there are a lot of opportunities that a new actor would benefit from, mainly because they would be a new face. Because, for instance, the organization with which I was just involved, which provides awards to professional theater companies throughout the Washington D.C. area, has over 95 different theater companies identified and represented in that organization. That's 95 theater companies that pay people, not necessarily a living wage, hopefully sometimes it is, but that pay people to perform. So there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of new faces. There's a wide variety of theater. You certainly have organizations that do classical work. There's a lot of new work. There's a lot of new script development. There are a lot of opportunities for performers at all different levels, regardless of age group. In the camera side of the world, which is really where the money is, we've had some excellent opportunities in the DC area because we are the seat of the government and because we are not a sleepy little southern town anymore, but we are the home to some major organizations, or at least where their lobbying arms and things like that are, associations, training companies, etc. For the working actor, there's a lot of work for what we call industrials. They could be training films, they could be PSAs, they could be a wide variety of different kinds of messages, but that's where a lot of actors work if you're pursuing camera work. We also happen to be lucky that in the state of Maryland, we have given tax credits to producing organizations. So for instance, we have a major political television show that shall go unnamed, that currently is one of the better known shows showing on Netflix. And they have established a base now for, I guess, 5 years, and have done each of their seasons in the DC area, in Maryland, DC area. We had another HBO show there. We've done a couple of HBO movies there. The Virginia office of film and TV, the DC office of film and TV, and the Maryland office, each are now realizing the economic impact of having these kinds of productions in the area. And so there are more and more opportunities, let alone the government films that are done in industrials. So there are a lot of different opportunities for the working actor. It's a great question, and I hate to generalize, because the reality is that no matter where you are, acting is a tough profession. Not in terms of skill, but in terms of making a living wage. So anybody that thinks that they're going to come in and be the big star is probably living in a delusional world. Not to say that it doesn't happen, because again, It's a large community, but it's small enough so that people know each other, and it's a networked community. So, as you mentioned, you have to be a person that people are willing to work with. Not just because you have talent, but because you're a nice person and you know how to communicate with people and how to take direction. There are numerous opportunities, whether it be children's theater, whether it be non-equity theater, whether it be equity theater. There are opportunities. Time frame, you could be a new face and you could get an equity contract right away. We have probably 18 to 20 equity houses in the Washington D.C. area, which includes Maryland and Virginia, which is pretty large compared to anywhere else, except for possibly New York. But there are a lot of smaller professional theater companies that you can earn a living wage. The reality is that you probably need another set of skills outside of acting, whether it be a waiter, whether it be in computers, whether it be in a variety of different areas, that allow you the flexibility. Because a lot of the smaller theaters, of course, you'll do nighttime rehearsals. But if you're really pursuing it and you're working in equity houses, you're working daytimes. You're doing straight eights and things along that line. So if you're going to have a secondary job, which I would wholeheartedly recommend, not because you want to, but because you have to in order to eat, make sure it's one that allows you some flexibility. If you're going to be a waiter, make sure you're working somewhere where they don't mind you trading shifts with people. That's a great question, and since you asked about it in correlation to New York, I'll say we're probably cheaper.
Okay.
If you ask about it in relation to Iowa, I would say it's outrageous. So it all depends. Yes, it is an expensive city in which to live, but it's balanced by places that pay much better than they do elsewhere. I know a lot of people that have government-type jobs that are also actors, because they are able to find some way to have that flexibility, or they have spouses or other friends that can help them support them as artists.